Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of Chronicon. My name is Wilfred. So a lot of you have requested me to share the build I have for this full summoner Warlock. More than happy to do so. Now just before I go on, a couple of points here. First of all, I will pin the gameplay video in the description below, the first comment that you see, because otherwise it will make this video very long. So do check out that video for the gameplay. And also any update I have on this guide, for example, if I figure out something else or I miss out anything, I will also put it at the comment and the pinned comment. Do check out that as well. Secondly, just like my Marvel Heroes Day, I will consolidate all the useful guide on my website, a personal website. So I'll put a link at the description below. So do check out if you want to take a look at how crafting work, the guides on enchanting or transmutation, stamps and socketing and so on. Please feel free to look for that. And as and when I create a new guide, I will just update my website as well. The last point is that I'll put time code at the description of the video as well, because I know that this video is going to take some time to go through all the items, and in case you want to revisit and look at some specific things, and you can just refer to the time code without having to watch the entire video again. Okay, now a couple of items I'd like to go through, so in this particular order. So I'll give an intro to what Warlock class is like in this Chronicon game, and I'll introduce the build to you, why you should consider playing this build. Very fun. The third point is really about the skill kind of like tree as well. So I'll share the skill tree, or put it this way, I'll share the skill rotation first to let you take a look at how to play this Warlock, and then I'll share my skill tree with you, the gear as well as the relics that I use, and last but not the least the mastery point as well. So I hope they'll cover all the area, and without further ado, let's just go into the warrior build first. So I think that is very important. So now this game right now has 4 classes. I do hope that there will be more. So Warlock class is a very fun kind of caster build, and you have something called a soul. That is very fundamental to the gameplay of the Warlock. So as you kill off enemies, there's a chance to capture a soul. Now the soul can be used for many things. It could buff your passive. You can use a soul to do certain kind of power and so on. So that's very useful. By default, you have 5 souls, and of course, if you have the right gear, you can increase that to more souls. Usually, the more souls you have, the more powerful you are as well. But not necessarily have to be happy that way. I mean, you may build your character in some other way, because Warlock has many build options. Soul do get depleted over time, so you can't forever capture a soul. After a while, the soul will kind of disappear as well. So you need to keep progressing and killing off enemy. Of course, there are other ways to collect souls as well. I'll go into that in just a bit. So all in all, Warlock has many options here. There are 4 different trees that you can go into. You can go into like a Corruptor. Corruptor is mainly about poison damage, and the Leech is more about frost damage, more like solo kind of gameplay as well. The Demonologist is a fire-based kind of build with certain demons to play along as well. And you can have the Necromancer build for the Reaper, or you can just just a normal Reaper as well. Now, all in all, there are different kind of build options here. You could build a full summoner build like mine here, and you could also go for Curse, go for Bane power and Sorcery power, and or even a combination of everything. So all in all, Warlock class is a very fun class to play, many options, and so that concludes my introduction to Warlock. Now, looking at the second part of the video, which is talking about this particular build I have. Now, a disclaimer here, Chronicon is a very deep game. There's a lot of build options here. I don't proclaim that this build is the best build out there, but it's certainly the most fun build. It is capable to, at present, complete the Mythic 15 with no defeat, so you can do Elite Dungeon, that's fine. I'm pushing for different tiers as well. Right now, tier 15, easy for me, and I'll see how far I can get with this build. So do continue to check out my videos and see how far this one is. This one here, it is not the most optimized build for the summoner. I tell you why, because if you focus on certain two skill trees there, possibly you get a better outcome. But I like it. I like the summoner build. Now, this build has up to 39 summons that you have. I mean, it's an army of 39, including a Warlock himself. So let me just run through what kind of pets you get at the maximum soul, right? So number of souls will determine certain like number of zombie. You can raise skeleton as well. So let me just sum up for you. There'll be one one Warlock, 4 Infernal Demon, which is the red one here, 6 Little Demon, which is the devils, or little devils, which is the flying creatures there, 7 Skeleton that you can raise when you have enough souls, 11 Zombie when your soul is full at 15, 4 Skull that you see different color skull here, the red, the green, the purple, and the blue. So that's a skull. 6 Living Blood that will be spawn when you do like poison damage. So it is really a true summoner build, and it's likely one of the most summoner you can get. So if you'd like to play summoner with the most number of summons that you can command, this build is really for you. Not necessarily the most optimized one, like I said, but it is one of the most fun one, especially if you're a fan of the summoner. Now, from a stat perspective, let's just go through a stat first. I think because that is very important, and because that would drive the options that you have when you select certain kind of like affixes and so on. Now, I'm not going to like dictate which are the affixes that you would need to follow, because I don't think in this game no two builds are the same. You may pick a different affixes, take more risk, or you may want to take a more safe and tankier approach but sacrifice on DPS. It's entirely your choice, because not everybody play the same way, and that's why this game is so wonderful, because you can pick all the affixes. Unlike, say, Diablo 3, whereby everything is by chance, you have to make do with the gear that you have got. Here, you have complete control of all the affixes that you have in your gear. All right. So now let me run through with you. Health is very important because if health is 0, then you get defeated with the elite dungeon. So I do see that with a certain kind of like gear that I put into the affixes onto my gear, it is helpful to have health. Mana wise is not that important. However, because I have a mastery skill whereby 10% or certain percentage of my damage is being drain the mana instead. So I do need a certain amount of mana, but not necessarily the most of it. Damage is important because that is the base damage, like Marvel heroes and so on. This is base damage. Higher it is, the better it is. Attack speed, not that important, but it does roll up to the imps as well to have the faster attack speed. So it's not really one of the stats that you should pay attention to. It's good to have some, but not necessarily. So you can ignore those. Crit hit chance and crit hit damage, just like Diablo 3, just like Marvel heroes, both are important, but you cannot ignore one to the other. I believe that the best outcome is when you have both roughly the same. So whenever you have say if I have 50% of crit hit chance, I should have 500% of crit hit damage. That would be ideal. So that's just a highlight on that. Overpower is very important when you do a higher kind of like a tier, because when you look at the tier here, you can see the resistance of the mob is 90%. So overpower, we bring this 90% to 30% resistance. So that is a decent kind of like compensation in terms of the penalty on the mob resistance. So at higher at higher anomaly, this is very important. All right. Now the rest of the damage, poison, force, fire, and shadow, I would say you can't possibly increase all of them, because my imp and the infernal demon does fire damage, my zombie does poison damage, and my skeleton does shadow damage. So I can't possibly invest into all damage. So whenever I can, I go for the flat damage or just a percentage of damage or what have you. But however, if you must choose, like the dams and so on, go for fire damage, because majority of your damage will come from fire itself. All right. So no need to do sorcery, curse, and bane, because those are not applicable to the build itself. Health regeneration is important because this Warlock doesn't have any healing effect, unlike the Templar, so that's good. Health on hit is somewhat important as well. You don't have to go all out for it, but it is important. I'll tell you why. First of all, there's a skill within the Frost Tree whereby I can increase the health on hit by 100%. So another thing is that the zombies here, I can have up to 11 zombie. Each of them will do a health on hit for you as well. You can see the mastery tree in just a bit. So I have facility whereby I can regenerate health through the zombie when they do a health on hit. So it is somewhat important. I don't do a lot of hits as well because mine is a cooldown kind of like a summoner build, but have some in it is important. Evasion is important as well because that helps you to totally avoid the damage dealt onto you. You probably can't go all out because you do need to balance off the stats itself. I will be comfortable having around 50% of it, right? Damage reduction wise is important, but it's a balance between the two. It depends on what you want to do. You either stagger the damage and reduce the damage being staggered, or you have a full-on damage reduction. So again, its choice is you. It's about gameplay. I want to take a riskier approach and have a damage stagger instead because I can convert the damage staggered into DPS, but it's really up to you. Onto the resistance, it's very important to cap it at 80%. Now, you wouldn't know what the resistance is because you have to go through the dungeon itself because every different league itself, the Mythic itself, will have a different kind of resistance against you. So it's very important that at the end of the dungeon, after you defeat the boss, take a look at your score sheet and see whether it's 80%. If it is not 80%, try your best to get 80% across all the resistance because that will help you survive, especially at a higher kind of level, all right? Now, the rest of it, the cooldown reduction is important, is somewhat important, not necessarily. It helps you on the ultimate. It helps me on the health pit. That is a cooldown power as well to teleport the demon. I'll go through the skill in just a bit. Effect duration is always good. It lengthens or the buff that you have that is favorable to you, and also it does lengthen the ultimate kind of like duration as well. So that's pretty good. Usually, what happens in other classes like Templar, I will have both the cooldown reduction of the ultimate together coupled with the effect duration and give me a really thorough kind of coverage, 100% coverage if I can, but not for this Warlock. Bonus experience is important because as you go higher into the anomaly, the only thing that helps you to go through the next tier is through the mastery points, and that is more like a Paragon system in Diablo 3. So the more bonus experience you have, the faster you can accumulate enough kind of like XP for you to further your character. Okay, I'm not going to go through too many of other things, but the movement speed is important. I'll tell you why, because I convert this particular build, convert movement speed into companion damage, make the pet more powerful. So you move faster, and then you also you can also do that more damage, and more so the ultimate I use, which is I will show you in just a bit, which is Demon Spawn. We have a little wing, you see, that increases the movement speed as well. That in turn will increase the pet count damage, so it's very synergized. Ritual effect, is good. It comes with the mastery, but it's not something that you just gear for it. It's just something come with the mastery. So it make the ritual effect to be as the companion damage and so on and so forth more powerful. Maximum soul, 5 to start with. You can increase to 15 if you follow my build itself. Soul steal chance is not that important really. Soul duration is not that important as well. Damage stagger, like I said, is important because 90% of the damage staggered I can reduce. You can see a gear later on. I actually knock off 90% of the 75% damage stagger and convert all the damage stagger into DPS as well. So yeah, it's pretty good. Nothing too much to talk about in this part, so I'm just going to move on to the next bit. The last part is important. Dam strength is to increase all your dams, the stats that you have, so that's very important. The rest of it not that important. Pickup radius determine how you farm. It helps your farm efficiency. You don't have to go all out with it, but it's good to have a certain amount so as to loot, to auto loot item. Companion damage reduction is not that important. I seldom see any of my companion die anyway. But the rest of it, damage itself is very important. So I have about 2,000% companion damage, and they help me buff the pets a lot. So with that, I cover all the stats I have. I hope you find this part of the video useful. Okay, the next bit is about the rotation itself. So before I get there, just another kind of demo is that these are the 4 Inferno Demon that does the most damage in my whole arena. Now I can use a health hell pit. I'll show you a gear in just a bit, to teleport them and to empower them to deal damage. You can teleport them into a location and let them, taunt and destroy the enemy. So that's good. But the Hellfire the Hell Pit has a certain kind of like cooldown as well. It's about 3 second cooldown, which is just nice. Your sweet spot is 3 seconds because your demon cannot be teleported less than 3 second cooldown. So if you get down to less than 3 second cooldown, it's not going to help with the whole pooling as well. So the sweet spot for this build is a 3 second Hell Pit. So 3.1 second is close enough. There's a lot of like trade-off to do, so you can't just go all out in one step. Demon Spawn I've covered, so that is about 32 second cooldown, which I have a 25 second coverage, so I do miss around 6 second or 7 second kind of like gap between the demon spawn. It's just something that I have to work with. Now zombie is the one that will get summoned. As I get more souls, more zombie will get summoned, and you can also sacrifice a soul to deal with the area damage on the zombie. I do like this a lot because it does do a nice area damage, and it does hit more than say the Imp itself, also the Little Devil. So Little Devil, there are 5 of them, and I choose the Little Devil because it's just a higher damage, and you can use it to create a Fire Nova. My only kind of comment about this is that criticism about it is that it's a lot misses than hit, because sometimes your Little Devil will be on the way to hit target and so on and so forth. You may not be hitting the right target. However, I do find the zombie is a lot better because of my 11 zombie, it does cover the ground quite nicely, has a lot of poison damage around it. But hey, if I have enough soul, I just pop it anyway. So there's no no penalty to it. I have a Ritual of Necromancy as well. That itself, I don't really I use it and as and when I need to summon the skeletons. But the good thing about it, and you will see in the mastery later, is that when I use Ritual of Necromancy, I will get a health on hit kind of bonus. So it's really good for me to use. Last but not least, the Ritual of Summoning, another ritual skill. I just put it on my skill bar because it gives me the 41% companion damage, but I don't really need to remove the cooldown anymore for all my companion skill because my ultimate these days is not the Infernal Demon. It does come with a gear, I'll show you in just a bit, but I have it in my toolbar just to give me a sufficient kind of like companion damage buff. Alright, so these are the stuff I have. Now I happen to have gear whereby I can use the test dummy to get soul, so I'm going to just do it for you guys here. So as you can see, once I start doing this, my soul will start to come up because of the weight I have, and I can start to summon the skeleton as well. You can always see it. You see a lot of debuff there. I gear for it as well. That's really cool. And do take this opportunity, and not just for this class, to study all this buff and debuff, because it does help you to understand what is happening for your character. All right. So now I'm just going to pull back in just a bit so they can see all the mobs and so on. You can see there's a living blood as well. So you can see the little blood here. I think probably you can't really see everything stacked up together. It does get explode quite fast, but it's just too many of them. So you can see that there's a lot of a zombie here. You can see a lot of purple souls around you. What happened is that you have 15 soul that is in your soul count, but you have 5 standby. As and when you summon one of them, it would use up a soul. Like for me, I did summon all the skeleton as well. It draw from the reservoir here, so it's really good. So you have 15 soul maximum, plus another 5 soul on standby as you use your soul. It helps you on boss fight, because during the boss fight you can pop 5 soul power without depleting your current soul. So that is really, really useful. All right, so that concludes the skill rotation itself, and I do strongly recommend you to check out the pinned comment to see how the gameplay is like for this Warlock. Okay, now next bit of the video is on the skill tree itself. Now I'm going to go through it slowly for you guys so that you can kind of get what I'm doing here. All right. Now some of this I'm not going to go through too much, but if you want to play this full summoner build, you have to stretch your pawns very thin across all the trees because you want to get all the summons and so on. And it's not easy. So you have to make certain sacrifices, like you may not have as high damage reduction as you want, but it is worth it. The one that I would propose to focus on is the 5-pawn on Little Devil. I choose the Little Devil because of the higher DPS. Just 1 pawn on Volatile can do, just open up the next bit, because I don't see my Im die at all, so it's kind of pawn wasted anyway. But the most important thing is that for each soul hell, my companion damage and is increased by 15%. And it's not just for the Little Devil, but for all the companions you have, the companion damage is increased. So if you have 5 soul, then you have 5 multiplied by 15, which is 75%. So this is a really big deal. So this is the one of the things that you should look for. The health pit, like I say, is important because it does teleport you do use the health pit quite a lot of time, and you may as well max it out to have a very strong debuff against the enemy here as well. So this is the one. Foe struck by health pit become weakened. You deal 15% more damage multiplied to whatever you have. Now, the reason why I don't put on this one is because if you are struggling with resistance, the 15% may help, but I don't because of how I gear, so I don't need to put pawn in it. You need to have the collecting a soul increased crit hit chance, so you got 15% on top of the 50% you have. That's a pretty good deal. The next bit is that each soul Warlock holds increased damage by 5%. So I'm holding 15 souls. That is another pretty good amount of 75% out there. So that is the reason why the soul will make it more powerful. But more important, so I have got the demon spawn as my ultimate. So this will conclude what you need to put in as a fire demonology scarf tree. The rest of it is just a filler. You are not really relying a lot on all these passive to give you a DPS. And that's about it. And last but not the least is Demonic Fury. Now I want to make a mention about that because it's kind of important for this build. It is a subsidiary kind of like DPS. It's not the main DPS, but it does help you to cast my fire skill. I have a chance to deal with the Demonic Fury as well, and I have gear to support that. Right, so that's Demonologist. The next one I would like to cover would be the Corruptor. So Corruptor is the one that does poison damage. It's very good because I can increase the attack speed as well as the companion damage as well. I think in retrospect, you may want to explore reducing the attack speed perhaps, and to see whether you can put into other places or not. But that is just one of the flexibility that you could keep improving your build on. They're very important to maximize the zombie. As well as the damage over time effect on the foe they strike, as well as the last one, every 2 soul hell, additional zombie is summoned. So I have 15 soul, so there's additional 7 zombie summons. That's why you see a lot of zombie as and when I get more kind of soul. Now I go for this one here, 10% to evade attack, completely ignore damage. That is important. These are defensive skill. Living Blood is interesting. Now, is it very important to have it? Not really. Is it fun to have it? Oh yeah, it's very fun because it does increase your companion count. You do see the little blood going around, and with my gear, it does special power as well. And when it explodes, it does an AOE. Is it very important? Not really. But is it fun? Oh yeah, very fun. Okay, so that concludes the Corruptor build. If you look at the Lich build, which is one of the least kind of like points here, the only thing I'm going for Ritual Summoning, because if I max out, I get like 41% on the summon itself. So that's about it. The rest of it is really about crit hit damage, which is of course important. 20% is still quite a bit. Mana is alright. Like I said, damage taken, I draw it from mana, so it's good to have some mana, but I never run into mana problem. Last but not least, Bone Shield is the one that I've put it in because of I have to open up this tier. But other than that, I mean, this is what it is. Not a lot to talk about. Last tier is about the Reaper, which is on shadow damage. So first tier is important, increase health by 12 and also the overpower by 20. I mentioned about overpower because that is to lower the resistance of the mob so that it can do more damage. In other game they call it penetration, but here is overpower. All right. Machuism is very good because when you take direct damage, which you do a lot, you gain a stack of health increase, mana regen as well, health, mana regen, and it does increase your damage. Now, how I wish I have enough points to reach here, because if I can have that, so I help with 15 of them, add to one stack of machoism. But this game is really good because it does give you trade-off. In order to open this one, I'll need 3 points, but I can't really sacrifice anywhere to have that 3 points. So it is a trade-off that I have to make consciously, and it is what it is. All right, so that concludes the skill tree. Now, next bit is about the gear. I know a lot of you are very interested on the gear. So, like I said, you have 8 slots, and then with the 8 slot, there will also be runes that you apply to it. So I will just have to go through slowly one by one to share with you what sort of like decision I made. Like I said many times, this is not the most like automobile. If you can do something different, you can have a different gear choice, and it's entirely up to you. A different choice could be even better depending on play style, but this is what I'm comfortable with. Let's start with the set itself. So I'm going for Infernal Demon Lord set, and with that set I can summon a permanent Infernal Demon. With that I can free up my ultimate. I don't need to have the ultimate as Infernal Demon. I can have the Demon Spawn as the ultimate itself. Also, like I said before, casting Hell Pit will teleport the Infernal Demon to the location, and it will taunt the foe and so on. But I cannot teleport more than every 3 seconds. So like I said, the sweet spot for the Hell Pit is to get the cooldown reduction from 4 seconds down to as close to 3 seconds as you can. Anything further than that, your demon will not be teleported, so you don't want to do that. 3 set bonus is that when I hit with the fire damage, the Infernal Demon become empowered, increasing the stat by the damage dealt by the Warlock. So now you can crit, the demon cannot crit, which is fine because they don't want to double count the empowerment, because otherwise if you crit, the demon crit as well, that's really break the whole game. So it is good because when you crit, you can see that the empowerment is really a lot. And also 50% of damage taken by Warlock direct to the Infernal Demon is very much like Unity Ring in Diablo 3 as well. Now, for these particular items, I've applied the lesser rune LR called Infernal Horns. So I use the gear Infernal Horns to so that I can summon 2 additional demon. Now I can tell you why. I will show you in Mastery Tree where is the 1 additional demon I have. So, but one Infernal Demon come from the set, which is the Demon Lord set. 2 additional demon come from the Infernal Horns lesser rune, and 1 additional demon you can see later on come from the Mastery. Alright, so that is the first one. Second one is that I'm using a quadruplet Bulgar Binding. So the base item is actually a Bulgar's Binding. Now I choose Bulgar's Binding because of the affix of 20% taken is dagger dealt over 3 seconds. Now, if you choose quadruple, I believe you get possibly higher damage for your for your DPS, but then you lose the damage dagger. It's very important to get your damage dagger as high as possible because your whole build, part of it is really about damage dagger. Now, the good thing about this quadruple, let's focus on quadruple first, right? The quadruple is a greater rune, is from a true legendary. It summons 4 skull companion, each skull representing one of the 4 elements available in the skill tree, and the skull has 300% damage of their chosen element, and their attack will trigger player on hit effect. Now, these skulls that you can see, the red, the green, the blue, as well as purple, does not do too much damage. It's just a supplementary. But the good thing about it is that it triggers player on hit effect. And with the player on hit effect, 2 things will happen. First of all, as you can see again later, I can generate souls. The second one is that I can spawn living blood, because in order to spawn a living blood companion, I have to deal poison damage on a target that has been poisoned. And as you can see on my entire toolbar, I don't have that. And the zombie does poison damage, but it doesn't count because it's not player on hit effect. This quadruple will help me to proc all these things while doing a reasonable kind of background DPS around it. So it's a very good all-rounded one. Now, going back to the Bulgar binding, the good thing about it is that I reduce the damage taken from stagger damage by 90%. In addition, damage is increased by 20% of the current health staggered damage. So again, taking damage will increase my DPS, but I have to make sure that I don't take too much of it until my character may die due to the stagger damage. So this is one of the build defining kind of moments. From the amulet point of view, I'm using the master command set. It's very, very good because all my companion, the 38 of them, right, become elite. It does 5 times the base damage. In addition, you have special attack as well. So that is very, very good because there are some attack, like if I raise the skeleton, it does bone sphere to draw to group enemy. So I have facility to group enemy. It does a lot of other things as well. Each of the demon, even the skull itself. So everything does special attack, and it is very build defining as well. From the lower rune perspective, I would say that it is possibly not the most ideal. You have 2 choices when you play the Warlock for this particular build. One is that you have a chance to steal soul with the cooldown. The second one is that you can see invisible kind of like mobs. The rest of the lower rune or so, I don't see any benefit to this build. Now I picked this one because a Warlock without souls is very, very poor. However, I could use a test dummy within 10 seconds or 20 seconds. I can get full soul plus 5 soul plus the army of the skeleton as well. So I can start the dungeon with a full force power without having to worry about initial part is very slow. So it does save me a little bit of time when I enter a dungeon. It does feel a little bit safer as well because usually at a higher kind of like anomaly, things become quite dangerous and you want to take down the enemy quite fast. And that's why I use this lesser rune. Okay. Now on the offhand itself, I'm using the Jones Book of Soul as a greater rune. It gives me 10 maximum souls, and souls stolen while already at maximum will now hoover around the Warlock. So so that is a lot of questions. People ask me, how do you get the 15 soul instead of 5? Well, this is the greater rune that I applied to my items. All right. Now, on the chest, one of my favorite greater rune here is Elementium. So the great thing about Elementium is that all my resistance, except my highest resistance, are increased by 60% of my highest resistance. So what essentially it means is that you just have to focus on one resistance, get it to near 80%, and then the rest of it will certainly go beyond that as well. So it does help you to get to the cap of all the resistance as well, without having to have the gear and say, okay, this gear I'm using fire resistance, the other gear is using frost resistance, and so on and so forth. It saves a lot of them, or even the affixes kind of like opportunities to maintain your resistance cap, right? Now, on the weapon itself, I use Demonic Fury as a lesser rune. My Demonic Fury has a 15% additional base damage, increased chance to trigger for each active companion. I must confess that this is possibly one of the worst runes for these items. Another option is to sacrifice all your imps for the Infernal Demon. And what it does that you'll come across that one of these days from one of the runes that you loot. What happened is that you could use sacrifice all your imp, and then the imp's power times 3 times will add onto your Infernal Demon, and because your Infernal Demon is very, very powerful with the empowerment kind of buff and so on, it will make your build very powerful. Now I may at the end of the day switch to that particular rune for buffing the Infernal Demon, but as of now I don't really see the need to. Now what Demonic Fury does, by the way, is that whenever I deal fire damage, I'll have the equivalent fire damage around me as well as a Nova, so as to deal damage to the mobs around me. I can only do it every 3 seconds. You can use this one up to the max if you are playing like sorcery build on fire. This would have been perfect because you can then pop it like almost every half a second. Okay, so that is the lesser rune. For the boots itself, I would suggest the Advancing Army, because that movement speed is being added to the companion damage. Like I said before, you can gear for movement speed, and also when you pop your ultimate for Demon Spawn, your movement speed will be buffed, and that will in turn add to your companion damage 3.5 times of that. Right. Now, the last part is very important, the staggering boot. 45% of damage taken is stagger and dealt over 3 seconds. So with that, add on to the rest of it, that become the damage stagger that I have to help me, 75% damage stagger to help me survive. So just to sum up, in case you can't miss all the numbers, is that 75% of damage after all the mitigation will be staggered. 90% of the damage staggered will be knocked off, so I don't need to take that damage will be reduced, and then a portion 20% of the damage staggered accumulatively become the buff my overall damage as well. So the more damage I take, so long as I can survive, the more powerful I become. Right, and the last one is the King's Rod Unbreakable Bond. It's part of the Master command set. So and the lower lesser rune that I'm using is King's Rod. King's Rod will increase effect of all my gems to 65%, and that's why you see that the gems are pretty high, kind of like kind of number. So now that concludes all the gear that we have here, and let me just go through the gems as well. I would propose to have a good balance of DPS and the defensive as well. So for the helm, I'll go for the star, and for the amulet, if you're permanent gem, go for the fire damage. Like I said, fire damage is important, but bonus experience is important as well. Same for this one, and as for the offhand and weapon, I'll go for crit hit damage because I have a pretty good crit, but the crit hit damage is a little bit lacking, so I add it onto the gem itself. For the chest items, same as the boots as well as the helm, is to have a mix of companion damage and evasion as well. That will be very useful. And as for the ring itself, the same as for the amulet, which go for between the fire damage and the bonus experience. But like I said, you can customize the way that you want it to be. You want it to be more tanky, more DPS, or more utility for you to collect mastery. Entirely up to you. So now, with that said, the last bit of the video is about the mastery, and this will take a while, but I'll go through it slowly so that you guys can understand, appreciate what needs to be done here. Now, for those who are new to the game, mastery is like the paragon in Diablo. Of course, it's a lot deeper. It's almost like the Omega system in Marvel Heroes as well, but I presume this one has its own merit as well. Each of the node has, and there are some nodes that each of the node have one or more options. So for example, this one here, you could have the other two options as well. So imagine every single one of them will have like different option that you can pick to what you want to do. So this game is very, very deep. You can further customize the entire. Can you imagine how many nodes are there? How many opportunity you can have, different combination of everything that you can customize. So that's why it's really good. Now, there are 4 mastery that relate to the tree itself. So naturally, you would want to have the mastery for each of the tree, because I do spread the points around them. But you don't have to maximize all the points within the mastery for each of the trees that you have, be as the Corruptor, the Lich, the Demonologist, as well as the Reaper. Right. Focus is always on the Fire Demonologist, because that is where all the major kind of like damage come from, but you don't have to maximize the rest of it. And in fact, for Lich, you don't even need to get to the end of it. Now, the benefits, by the way, for each of the 4 of them, if you can collect all 4 of them, you can have the end point as such. So first of all, you can have the increase all the ritual skill. That's for the necromancy, as well as the another one that you've seen earlier on. And then you have ritual summoning as well. So there are 2 rituals. Companion passive and use effect is important, so you can collect those. And the third one is ultimate skill. Now you could use the opportunity, and you do a little bit of swapping as well, to increase your fire damage with each point spent at the same rate as other stat. You could do that, but I've done some mathematics around it. It's not really worth it to sacrifice the points here for the damage you see here. right? So I've done the maths. I look at the effect of it. It's really not worth it to research all the way to the end so as to buff the firepower, because that would be the trade-off between the firepower and the damage here. Now, so these are the 4 sets. Now, you do have the class mastery as well, which is 1, 2, and 3. Now, each one of them has a note that is useful. Not everything is super useful, but it's good to look into each one of them, maximize most of them. But once you have reached the end of it, the Grand Summoner, which is 50% base health and damage, now any point that you earn can be one of these 3, either damage, health, mana, right, or even the thorns as well. So there are 4 options here. Now, like Diablo, you can just land on the point in one of them, which for me is the damage. So wherever point I earn for mastery, I just put in the damage itself. So that's the end game itself. Now, let me just go through each one of the notes. I'll just go quickly on how I make some decision and what it means for each one of them. So for the demonologies, companion damage is what I picked. It's important. Demonic Fury, chance to trigger, is not that kind of important, but I don't really have another option. The other option is something that I don't use. The combustion is not something I'm expecting to, right? Increase the rate of which the flaming hell deal damage to foe by 30%. Again, it's just secondary. It doesn't really matter. Just you need to fill up a point to move on to the next one. Damage dagger is important, so they add on to the 70% damage dagger that I've got. Imps and Little Devil gain extra 20% of the Warlock attack speed is probably the only option you can have. You can look through the other 3 of them. None of them is really relevant to the build. 100% increase of the Demonic Fury. Again, is all buffing the Demonic Fury together with the gear itself. Fire Bane skill increase, blah blah blah. Again, I don't use Bane, but I have no other option to pick. So this is one of the filler as well. But more importantly, 25% to all damage element is good because I'm doing the fire damage, poison damage, as well as shadow damage. So that is good. Then pick one of them here. So that is the demonology. The second one I'd like to talk about is the Reaper itself. The Reaper is that the companion health is something I pick. You could actually, looking back though, I probably will go for effect duration. So because I don't think health is that important because my demon can't survive it. But with effect duration, again, if you take a look at the ultimate itself, again it's closer to the gap. The gap is closer. I'm like having an uptime of almost 100% with 3 second kind of like a difference to it, so 90% uptime. So yeah, I'm happy that I'm doing this video. I make a change in my decision. This one is not important. And this one is important. Dark Bargain, 10% of damage taken subtracted by mana instead of health, draining 1 mana per 4 point of damage. You can also have a gear that go along with it as well, but I think this is sufficient. Shadow Ritual, add 100% health on hit, so that is important. You could do other things as well. Of course, you can like try to escape death, or summon a single Wrath. I tried single Wrath, but it's just that I found the zombies kind of like I found that the skeleton more useful because of my quadruple kind of like amulet. The skeleton will then do a bone sphere to pull enemy across. So I don't at endgame I don't use a Wrath, but however you can experiment on that one. Increase effect of Machoism, we talk about that also. Increase damage and health by 3% for each enemy within 3.7 meter is kind of useful, but I don't really come that near to all the mobs at higher difficulties. But yeah, I mean it's one that we could use. The other options is really about Satellite, we should not use. Bone skill I don't use, and Shadow skill I don't really use that much Shadow skill as well, because these are all I'm using fire. The shadow is being triggered by the skeleton. That is not trigger. It won't cause this. It won't trigger all these things, right? Last but not least, of course, these are covered. So moving on to the next one, which is the Corruptor itself. I go for the poison damage. It's just buff my zombie. This one not that important. Infection is alright because I in my build I do infection as well, but it's not my main DPS. Evasion 5% is definitely a must. Zombie and Plague Bearer now trigger my health on hit, so that is how I recover my health together with this this ritual. That's how I build my character. It synergize each other. Living Blood is the one that spawned a little Living Blood, 100% damage. It's all right. It's not the best thing out there, but it's the best note that I can choose for. Infection damage increased by 5% for each, so it just give a little bit passive damage, and increase damage of all corrupted. Active skill, it doesn't really matter because I don't have active skill besides the poison that the zombie use, and so on. Now for the Lynch build, there's nothing really going on here. It's just the rich, I don't need companion health, so it's a rich here. I've got the this one doesn't matter. The only thing I'm going for is 5% damage reduction, as well as ritual summoning. Allow 1 extra companion to be summoned for all Warlock companion skill. Already summon more than one companion. So the rule is that, and that's why you see there's more than one Inferno Demon. There are one extra kind of like everything else, and that is the whole reason why we have so many kind of like moving demons here and there, right? So like I say, some of them are filler, but this is the one that's important. Now last bit is really going to the class mastery. I quickly go into it. So this is one that you should maximize. Companion damage is important. Immune to all movement, impairing speed is important, but you can have other options as well. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that that if you feel that you want to use, like ground trap and so on and so forth, no longer trigger, that is kind of good as well. So yeah, I mean, there are a couple of options. It's not like you must pick this one, but pick the one that does suit your build as well. Cooldown reduction, damage to crown foes, including the boss, is important. Soul duration is alright, but it's the best kind of like option I have within the nook that you have here. Resistant to all damage is 25%, and that's how you try to get to the 80% kind of cap. Damage to all elements, so that is something that all of them need to be maxed out. All here need to be maxed out. Next one is health. You need to put some point there to open up other things. Increase effect of ritual, yes. Base and companion skill now also command all companion to attack the target if they are able to. So I mean that is all right. I mean, it's not really a must. I must say, you can have other options as well. There are a whole bunch of other options you can consider. All right, just have a feel around it and see whether it's useful or not. Movement speed, it does go with my advancing army kind of a boot to boost my companions' damage. And anyway, greater movement speed is always good. Healing from all sources is important. I got health on hit. I got 100% health on hits as I summon the skeleton. So yeah, it's good. Dam strength, very important. So to make all the dams more powerful. Overpower is important as well, because that is how you overcome the resistance of the mobs at the higher difficulties, because they are 90% resistant against you. This is okay. You don't need to max out this out, so you just leave 1% is fine. I mean, one point is fine. Last line, mana is alright. I just use it to open up next bit of it. Health regeneration, and immune to knockoff and pull effect. Effect duration is how you lengthen your ultimate. Reduce duration of harmful effect. You do get poison, you do get burn, you do get what have you. So this is very useful. Evasion help with survival. Crit hit damage help with DPS. Again, is very, very useful. Experience gain is without doubt is one of the most important things, because then you can collect a lot of points here. So I think all in all, in short, this is my layout. Most of them are maxed out, some of them I do not need to, and the rest of the points you have, I just dump it here. So with that said, I thank you for your patience. This is not an easy guide because there's a lot of area to cover, and as you can see, this game is so complex and there's so much depth to it. It's really worthwhile to start with something I have, and I'm very sure they can do better than I am. And like I said, I mean, this is a full summoner build, not the most optimal, but it's in fact the most fun. Thank you very much for watching, and do check out the pinned comment below for any update to this build, and also do check out the link at the description to go back to my website should you want to see a little bit more guides out there. Have a great day. Goodbye.